This report is for those who are asking important questions regarding the situation we find ourselves in the Pacific Ocean, namely South Korea. There have been 4 ships reported that have now strategically been placed in that region. There has been an imminent threat, not really a diplomatic solution right at this moment. We're hoping and praying for a diplomatic answer for what could obviously put us in a position where you're looking at the stage has been set for World War III. We're hoping that's not the case. And looking at some of the intel and information that was out there on CNN, it's obvious that there are some legitimate concerns. So we're going to file this report here in a moment after this. I know a lot of people have been talking endlessly about the position we're taking. It's really important to make a distinction between the former Obama administration to what the President Trump is doing. He's making the most important wartime decision that any president has to make, and he's consulting with a lot of higher ranking military officials. They're not making a decision that would, first of all, put America in a situation where there's a big war. That's not really how you hear it on the news. You just heard about the CNN report that they have deployed ships over and 4 warships into that region. It is critical to understand it's not a continuation of the Obama policy. One of the things that makes a huge distinction is that Barack Obama's administration went over and just started attacking. It is not the same type of situation that occurred in 2013. I know a lot of people are borrowing these tweets from when Donald Trump was, argumentatively, he was debating about what most of us agree, Syria. If we were thrown into a situation, what the catastrophe it could have been in 2013, that is not the same of what's happening. And you're hearing a lot of skeptics, and I want to try to bring this in. It definitely looks like that right now, and that's why they're making this really important, critical decision right now, that there would be a good plan to, let's just say for the moment right now that we are positioned for a good reason. I know that's not a very popular opinion on independent news media because we have been used to horrendous corruption when it comes to making wartime decisions. That's probably one of the biggest decisions. Now, I know people are going to start saying, well, what was the significance of doing this on April 6th? Listen, I don't go down that road. I just know from the intel reports and what we've been hearing is that this is not the same action that was handled in 2013. There was critical information that believed that we were in a situation where, we're strategically need to be there. Now, that's about as much as I'm allowed to say. I understand a lot of people have concerns, but I hope you understand this is such an important time. We are in a position right now in America where we need to understand that President Trump has America's best interests, also has the interests of the alliance between South Korea that has been something we've had with South Korea since the Korean War. It's a really important decision. Let me just leave it at there. And I'm one of those people that did not want to believe that Bashar al-Assad would use chemical weapons, okay? Unless there's other information that would support that. Right now, it's not the same. A lot of people are making the comparison that President Donald Trump is doing the same thing that Barack Obama did, okay? That is definitely not the case. I know that's what it seems like, and that's why I hope this report helps at least address that you're talking about 2 very different administrations. Now you got our Navy SEALs that are really in a position right now where they can actually make right decisions. We've made some. We have witnessed personally the mistakes that have been made when it comes to our elite forces and what has happened, in previous would say operations, more or less. So I think that it would help get people to refocus and think about the battle plan. If you had to be in there and there was no room for diplomacy, I would hope that most of you know that this is what presidents really do. They do actually protect the interest of America first. And I hope people can arrive to that point, because many of you will be celebrating that President Trump is standing for it. You can actually get the media to agree on that, and you can actually get the independent media to agree on that we have a president that is making a very important decision, and getting behind the president and give the President Trump the benefit of the doubt. I understand a lot of people say, well, Assad wouldn't do that. I think you should rethink that. I think that there's enough information, or they would not be strategically placing warships to protect the interest that is going on in that region. I think when we look at Iraq, when Saddam was removed, okay, they did have they had an Iraqi president that was actually working together with the U.S. troops. I think that would be the way to look at this. If you can think in terms of how much easier it was for America to work with General Sisi versus Mohammed Mursi, you could see the distinction. I just hope that by removing those people out of the position, you see that it was a very much easier way to act in diplomacy. I hope that this is just, well, let me say this. I would think that if you look on those terms, you could see how much easier it is to work with leaders that are willing to come to the table and offer a diplomatic option. But as it stands now, they wouldn't be making those decisions if that decision couldn't be made. And I think you can see by Secretary of State Nikki Haley, she's trying to illustrate that point. I do believe people really haven't made that distinction yet. That's a big part of this that is important. You're not dealing with the Obama administration. You're dealing with Trump administration. I would hope people would offer that as the big piece here that a lot of people need to acknowledge. I see what has been happening on alternative media, and it does seem odd that the mainstream media is agreeing with President Trump, but this is what a president has to do. Sometimes in these cases, we can only sit and wait and hope that with the best exit strategy would pull us out of this quickly. That's our prayer. Please pray for your president. Pray for the troops that are deployed. This could be a very important and risky decision, but one I believe that because of the people behind the scenes that our president consults with, I believe we're gonna come out of this much better than you think. That is my hope. That's, of course, it's an obvious concern. I just hear a lot of spin about it, and I hope we did our best to at least kind of address it without saying too much more. Okay. Now, listen, we follow a lot of the stories. I could see how that could be very relevant. That's why I hope that a lot of people understand that big piece of in this is not the same as 2013. I was the strongest advocate for the actions that were occurring in Syria in 2013. In fact, I built pages on stuff like this because I truly believed that al-Assad would not use chemical weapons. So I find myself in it has been odd to see the media agree with the president. Now I see it's kind of flipped. So I hope this report helps clear up that matter. That's the best we can do right now. But I do believe President Trump, because of the people behind him, because of the decision makers, and I believe they are taking in consideration, I know personally that we are praying alongside the decision makers. So I want you to know that we have America's best interests, and that is what we ask for, the public to rally behind your president, pray for your president about these important, decisive decisions. I know there's a lot of opposition and a lot of people been burned in America, but and obviously that is probably why there's been such a knee-jerk reaction. We hope and pray that you get behind President Trump and get behind the people that are trying to make the right decision here. Thank you, and God bless you, and God bless America. and find out from somebody that they robbed you because you went online and did a search. The one that I've seen that's the best person to look into gold or an exchange is stevequail.com. I would not recommend just going in there ordering. You send your money and then you probably won't end up with anything. And I've heard a lot of scams about the gold and silver industry. That's it for me, because I think it's really important that we got started somewhere. And it's just where we're at. I can't imagine anything more important than being faithful and true to the Lord, because he's going to bless you. He's going to bless you with good health. The more you draw closer, the better you're going to get, the better healthy you're going to be mentally. And most likely, any of the health issues will eventually just go. In fact, if the whole point about all this was to seek God for healing, bills paid, things like that, God will always supply every need. He does. And that's because we trust in him. He has supplied every need. He has supplied every area where some of us needed it, and we weren't faithful either. It just shows you how God is faithful even to the people who didn't even deserve it. That's called grace. A lot of us need grace, including myself, a lot of it. Not one of us ended up here because things were going well. We ended up on our knees because things were so bad, and it was mostly because of choices we made. So know that is the whole point of repentance and prayer. You start there, it's always gonna work out.